Good morning, Patrick. I hope you are doing fine. Also, maybe some other people, because I saw that we had 34 views for the first video. So maybe there's some other people watching. Fine. When I'm doing this video, you're probably still sleeping, Patrick. It's Tuesday morning in Belgium, and it's raining like hell. We have a rotten summer. My children are not very happy because when they were doing their exams, it was here like 35 degrees, and now it's raining. So good you came to Belgium in May. Now, I promise I will not every time blah blah like this. I will be a little bit more efficient, but you know that in the beginning it takes some more time. I have to introduce you to a lot of things, but today we will be doing our first dialogue. So I know you are impatient to start. What do I have to say? Well, so if you click on the link below, you will always come to this file, and I put dates in this file and the number of the video. So this was the last one, and then you will see a little bit lower, I'm putting all the information for today. What else do I have to say? Sorry. I know a person I met through my YouTube channel. He's technopedagogue, so he knows a lot about technology for learning. And he made, I think together with someone else, a manual to learn French, to learn Belgian French. It's not very different from French, but there are a few differences. So you see, it says manual, FLE means français langue étrangère, donc French foreign language, Belgian. This is a free manual, so I might use it. Well, in the beginning, of course, I'm doing everything according to our situation, as if you are living in Belgium and you want to know the basic things, but maybe I'll use it once in a while. If you click on this link, you will see you will first get to Manuel A1, that's the first one. And then, and now I'm teaching you, the first French word, télécharger, because it will say, pour télécharger le livre, let me type it. Pour télécharger le livre, I'm sorry, télécharger means to download. So pour télécharger le livre, cliquez ici. So click here. I imagine you figured out that's what it meant. So cliquez ici. Okay. For a moment, you don't have to worry for that. I'm giving all the information, and I will take information from this manual if needed. Another thing I wanted to tell you is that I'm trying to figure out how to turn the videos into podcasts, because I would like to post both. Some people really want to see something on the screen, and then other people want to listen. I was Googling a little bit, and I read that if I use Zoom, which I'm using Zoom to record this. If I'm using Zoom, I can easily transform an M4A into an MP3. And then maybe using GarageBand, I can turn it into a podcast. I have to look into that, but I will do it so that, further on, once we have longer dialogues, you can simply listen. But I tried to explain already everything without using too much the screen, if ever you are just listening to this video. I hope I've been clear. Otherwise, ask me questions. Okay, so what are we going to do today? I'm going down here. So we are the 1st of August. And I wrote a small dialogue. Let me, like this. I wrote a small dialogue. I wrote it in French. And then the translation is in red, if ever you want to read it. I also wrote already the verbs I used. You see here, aller, prendre, vouloir, discuter. I wrote the verbs, the full verbs here, the verbs I used. Because even though I think that in the beginning, you just have to absorb all the information and probably it's only listening, still, I think since you are a very academic learner, you will need to see and to understand already some grammar, even though we will not learn it actively for the moment, but just that you have already an idea. Oh, yes, this is a verb and this is the present tense. I think you will need it. I know that myself, I need it when I learn a new language. If that's not the case, you can always come back to me. I will also, when this video is ready, I will also post a small one just reading the dialogue and a few conjugated verbs. We'll get to that. So that I will also do that. If you want to listen to the dialogue, you don't have to listen to all the blah, blah all the time. You can just listen to the small dialogue. Okay, now we will start with the dialogue explaining, but when you will pronounce it, you will try to pay attention to two things. The first thing is that you have to ban the H from your language. Okay, so I'm sure you understand that, well, we don't pronounce the H in the beginning. For example, if now you say Holland, in French, it will be Hollande. There's no H. That I'm sure you understood. But also, in English, there are a lot of H's, if I can call it hidden H's. Like, for example, if you say the word possibility, you see in English, after the P, there is some H sound there. So you will say it's a possibility. That does not exist in French. There is no H airy sound in French. That will be really hard, but so all those H's, you will have to try to ban them. And how will you do that? By listening and listening all over again. So instead of saying possibility, in French, you will say possibilité. Pa, and not pa. Okay? So you will try to pay attention to that. And the second thing, you will try to pay attention to the R. So the R, at least you should not pronounce it like an English R. It should be in the throat. You should feel it. And then, so in the beginning, you can exaggerate if you want to. You can say grand, great or big is grand. In the beginning, you will exaggerate and you will say grand, but that's not really the case. It is there. That's why you pronounce it in your throat, but it's very soft. So it will more sound like grand. But it has to be in the throat and not the grand. No English American R. That's absolutely. There's no question of doing that R in French because people will just not understand you. Okay, so our little dialogue. First sentence, so when I say A, that's me, Miss A, and P, well, it's you, Patrick. So, bonjour, Patrick, ça va? So that means, hello, Patrick, you're okay. The ça va is really the verb aller, which means to go. So really what you're really asking is, it goes? Does it go? But this ça va thing, you can use all the time. Ça va? Ça va. You can ask it and you can say, it's okay. So, ça va? Bonjour, Miss A. Oui, ça va. Hello, Miss A. Yes, I'm okay. Like it goes, meaning I'm fine. On prend un café. On prend, prendre, comes from the verb prendre, to take. Now, you have probably noticed that the whole ending disappeared. So you say on prend. It's one of those nasal sounds. You don't say the N and you don't say the D. It's on prend. So it's the verb prendre. So we take a coffee, and I have to explain something else. That, okay, normally we in French is nous. Nous means we. But people use all the time like one. One takes coffee, one. And one, it could mean just in general one. One should not, for example. But the on is also used for we. And this is the very, very common way of talking about us, ourselves. I think it has to do with the fact that the conjugation of the verb is so complicated in French that if you use on, well, it's a singular form. It's a third person singular. And not because if it was nous, you should say nous prenons. And then there's so many exceptions. So I think that's how it initially came, but I'm not sure about that. Anyhow, we are going to use on very often. On prend un café? We take a coffee? Bien sûr, je voudrais discuter avec vous. Bien sûr, sure. Je voudrais is just a wonderful thing. I would like, je voudrais. You can combine any verb with that. I will show that at the end of this little dialogue. Je voudrais, I would like to discuss, discuter avec vous. And so you are saying avec vous. And remember, vous is also the formal, or we can say the polite form. If you don't know people, don't say tu or toi. They might be really, they might get angry. Because this is not what you do. If you don't know a person, you say vous. Vous is you guys, plural, you two there, but it's also used for the polite form or the formal form. Okay, and then of course you understand that with the vous, which is so funny, you could say, okay, I know it's you, polite, but you use then the second person plural. So you have to conjugate your verb also differently than as if you were using tu. So you could say, tu prends, you take, but vous prenez. So that will make it hard between the tu and the vous. But remember, you don't know the person, you say vous. So you said, you said to me, I would like to discuss with you. And what do I say? Avec vous. Non, avec toi. So I say avec vous. Are you going to use vous? No, with you, informal. Avec toi. On peut se tutoyer. We can, and now there is a verb, se tutoyer. The se here means each other, and tutoyer means to speak to one another with tu and not with vous. I even don't know how I should translate that in English, but se tutoyer, you know, like if you are having, let's say, a barbecue with friends, and then you have the new neighbors coming over and you don't know them yet. And there is very often like a moment that you say, okay, guys, can we tutoyer? Which means, can we say tu to each other instead of vous? And very often, well, if there is any hierarchical ranking, then very often it's the one higher up who should suggest it. Between neighbors, anybody can suggest to tutoyer. So what I tell you is, on peut se tutoyer, we can say tu to each other. On est amis, we are friends. And you see, I used again the on, n'est-ce pas? N'est-ce pas is also a very, very good thing. It means, well, we are friends, aren't we? But in English, the aren't we, you always have to adapt it to what you heard before. Isn't it? Shouldn't I? Haven't I? In French, no, it's n'est-ce pas all the time. It's a bit like, is it not so? So that's really easy. One easy thing in French. Bien sûr, so you agree, bien sûr, sure. C'est difficile la différence entre vous et tu et toi. It's difficult, the difference between vous, tu, and toi. Because you will see that toi is the object form. It goes with a preposition. We'll see that later. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. Vous signifie you, pluriel et version plurielle, formelle, pardon. I repeat. Vous signifie you, pluriel et version formelle. So, vous means you in the plural and the formal version. Tu signifie you pour un ami. So, tu means you, but for a friend. And what do you answer, Patrick? Ah, d'accord. Ah, okay, right. D'accord, it's like I agree. That's right. J'ai compris. I understood. Now, even though we're not going to talk a lot about grammar, I have to say this. The biggest difference for the verbs between English and French is the past perfect. In French, you will use very often the past perfect. J'ai compris, I have understood. Whereas in English, you use very often the imparfait, which is the, what would you call it, the simple past, like I understood. If I explain my weekend to you, I will say, I went, I ate, no, yeah, in English, I would say, I went, I ate, I drank, etc. But in French, I will say, I have drunk, I have eaten, I have gone. So that's the biggest difference. Keep that in mind. So that's why in French, I wrote, j'ai compris. In English, I understood, although maybe in English, you would also just say, I understand. Okay, but let's keep it like that. Merci, Miss A. Thanks, Miss A. Où est-ce qu'on va? Where do we go? And we have the on va. Va is the verb aller. It's a verb to go. It's an irregular verb. I noted it down also a bit lower. The est-ce que thing, so there is the où est-ce que on va? Où est-ce qu'on va? The est-ce que is some kind of do you thing you add. You can add it in a lot of questions. We'll do an exercise on that another time. And the est-ce que, it's a bit like, is it so? In fact, you don't have to translate it. Où est-ce qu'on va? Where do we go? J'adore la Grand Place. I love the Grand Place. Et moi, j'adore le café. And I, in French, you will say, and me, I. But in English, and I love coffee. J'adore le café. Allons-y. Allons-y. You see, I linked the S to the E, means let's go. Ah, il y a un Starbucks. Ah, there is a Starbucks. What does Patrick say? Non, je voudrais un café belge. No, I want a Belgian coffee. Je voudrais, it's the verb vouloir, to want. So I say, d'accord, au café liégeois. Alors, café liégeois is, it means, well, it's a place. It's a place where you can have coffee, very good coffee. D'accord, au café liégeois alors. Okay, in the café liégeois then. Tu choisis. Choisis comes from the verb choisir, to choose. You choose. And I say, parfait, perfect. Good. So this little dialogue, only in French, I will read in the next video. But then, just a few, you see, there's a few things I wrote down. So the present tense, of course, the present tense, we had already a lot of irregular verbs. We had already the verb aller, vouloir, pouvoir, être, avoir. And so I give you here just one verb, the verb aller. Maybe next time I will give you also the other verbs, but the verb aller, you see, it's really I go, je vais, nothing to do with aller. Tu vas, you go, then he, she, one va. Nous allons, we go, vous allez, you guys go. Ils, elles vont, they go, depending if it's all boys or all girls. Il, masculine, elle, feminine. If there's 1,000 girls and one boy, it's masculine in French. Okay, and then we have a lot of regular verbs. The regular verbs, well, you have different groups of verbs. And I have to tell you, do not panic because the present tense is the most difficult in French. Once you got through the present tense, things become really more easy. So you have verbs in French, quite a lot, many verbs ending in ER. Like you have, well, we had already discuter, se tutoyer, signifier, adorer. So here I noted down the present tense of discuter, to discuss. Je discute, tu discutes, il discute. Nous discutons, vous discutez, il discute. Okay, then we have verbs ending in re, like we had already. Prendre, to take, and comprendre, to understand. Prendre, je prends, tu prends, il prend. Nous prenons, vous prenez, ils prennent. Don't have to study that for the moment. And then we had also one verb ending in ir. It was choisir. And you have two groups of verbs ending in ir. Here, this one is the group where the E at the end is well, it's kept. So in the present tense, it will be je choisis, tu choisis, il choisit, nous choisissons, vous choisissez, ils choisissent. Already very hard. Okay, just to give you an idea, but don't study it for the moment. Good. Then there are a few, we had already, I think, 2, 3 very useful constructions. One of those constructions is there is, which is il y a. You can also use it as a question, is there il y a? For example, if you want to ask, is there, meaning maybe, do you have, is there café latte? So you could then ask, il y a du café latte? Okay, so il y a. You can also say, est-ce qu'il y a? Is it so that there is? We will do the est-ce que thing another time. And then, of course, the first one, everybody learns coming to a French-speaking country, je voudrais. It comes from the verb vouloir, to want, and it means I would like. So you can say, je voudrais boire, I would like to drink. Je voudrais manger. So you noticed already probably that the je voudrais is followed by the full verb. Boire is to drink, manger is to eat. Je voudrais visiter, I would like to visit. Je voudrais visiter la Grand Place. Okay, so those constructions are already very important. And then I imagine you understood that of all the pronouns, we have already the pronouns that express the subject. So I, you, he, she, one, it, we, you guys, and then they, masculine and feminine, plural. Okay, so this grammar part, I will add to it every time we meet. But what am I going to do now? I'm going to stop this video. We did enough for today. In the next small video, I'm only going to read the dialogue and also some conjugated verbs at the end. Okay, no translation, just listening, and I'm quite sure you understand most of it. Well, good luck, Patrick, and maybe other people. I'm going to continue my coffee in this very nice cup I received from Patrick. See you next time. Bye.